Hi everyone, Ryan Ratliff here from Mad River Outfitters, and thank you for joining us for this week's Fly Tying Tips, where we're going to teach you everything you need to know about tying your own flies. Welcome back to Fly Tying Tips. My name is Ryan Ratliff. Make sure you join us every Wednesday about 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a new episode with different types of tips that's going to make your tying life a lot easier. So this week, we're going to talk about Marabou. A couple different things. We've talked about feathers in the past. Marabou is a certain type of feather. Usually that's going to come from a certain part, not of a chicken. The marabou that comes from the different parts of the turkey, the goose, different types of places on the bird. 3 of the most popular different types of marabou that we sell here in the shop. We have lots of different other types. And if you have questions, obviously, always give us a call. We can help sort it out. We have stuff for very small flies, stuff for bigger flies. We'll go over a little bit of the characteristics so you know what you're getting. So let's start out with the first type of marabou. This is the woolly bugger marabou. This is the most stereotypical marabou, I think only just because it has the name woolly bugger in it. This marabou isn't necessarily the best choice for all woolly buggers though. The characteristics of the woolly bugger marabou are that the fibers are going to be relatively short. So you can see this stem down the middle. The stem is very, very stiff. That doesn't allow the feather to bend very much. And the fibers, like I said, are short. They're very densely packed. So a lot of times with this type of a marabou, we're either going to pluck off the side and make a bundle, or we're going to utilize tying around the stem and pulling it down to make a short little tail. Let me show you here real quick. All right, so just have, this is a core 2220. I think it's a size 6 or 8. Just a typical 4X long woolly bugger hook. For all of you that love to see point of view, I'm sacrificing today and tying left-handed just for you so you can see what you see at the vise. No, not really. I'm left-handed, obviously, so as you know. All right, so you're going to take a feather like this. If I'm going to do a woolly bugger, I'm either going to hold it up at the top, I'm going to pluck off chunks of it, make these little bundles, stack them up, and tie it in that way, or I'm going to prep the feather, just pull off some of the lower stuff on it, expose this really stiff stem. Going to lay it on top of the hook. Going to give it 2 relatively loose wraps, making sure my bobbin's dangling under pressure just to hold it there. And then I'm going to pull this forward. If my thread starts to move forward, I would just stick my finger there and I'll pull it. Sometimes if it wants to roll around, I'll hold it on either end. And then I get a short, very dense little tail. Put a little bit of pressure on it, give a couple more wraps. If I was tying a full woolly bugger, I would just keep on wrapping up, maybe 3 or 4 times like this. That stem is nice and stiff, so it's going to support itself. Trim that off, wrap this, overwrap that, and go all that part of it. Carry on with the rest of the fly. But you notice that it gets a very, very dense, very fluffy, but short tail. Some people like a shorter tail on their woolly buggers. If you like a longer tail, so a little bit more flowing, one of my friends always loved to have, instead of being 1 hook shank length or 1.5, he wanted it 2 to 2.5 hook shank lengths. Everybody's got their own opinion, right? But if you want a little bit more flowy tail, then we'll go with a little bit longer marabou. Next marabou, it's a little bit longer, is the excellent stuff from Nature's Spirit through the Fish Hunter brand. Fish Hunter has all kinds of awesome colors. I think there's up to like 70 some colors. We don't have all of them yet, but we're working on it. So we have probably about 40 to 50 different colors of marabou. This stuff is what you would consider a blood quill. That's kind of a key term. Notice that this marabou is very fluffy. When I see this stuff, I think of like Fraggle Rock, for those of you who are old enough to remember Fraggle Rock. All kinds of flowy stuff. The stem is nice and flexible here. And the fibers are long. Way different than the woolly bugger marabou. So, a couple different things that I can do with this type of marabou. I can still do the same exact technique, tie it in, pull it, make that long flowy tail. See how much flowier this is in the tail if I did it that way. The other thing that I can do with the blood quill marabou is I can actually palmer the marabou. So, not going to tie a whole fly, but I'll just show you some technique here. This is the tip. This is the stem, or the base of the feather there. So I would hold this tip and I would swipe these fibers down. This one I kind of broke a few fibers on, but we'll get those out of the way.
Yep.
So swipe this down like this. And then I will tie that in. By that stem, and that stem is very, very dainty, very thin, very delicate. So you need to kind of watch out a little bit when you tie that in. So when I start this, I like to fold this back just a touch, over wrap it just to strengthen it up. So I can wrap this forward. This would be one of the techniques that you would use on George Cook's popsicle. So fold this material back, real flowy. Some people will wet it, wet the feather to do this. It makes it a little bit easier, but I can actually wrap this around. I'm wrapping the stem around and making sure that the fibers are all back towards the hook point. If I was going to tie a popsicle like this, I would make sure that I had something stiff, kind of a stiffer fiber in the back, maybe a saddle hackle, maybe a turkey flat, just to kind of give it some support, but not necessary. You're just going to wrap this, one wrap in front of the other, going forward. And then the stem is nice and flexible, even all the way up into here. Starting to get slightly stiff there, but it's still flexible enough to wrap it up the hook. So fold all this back, trim off this stem here. You can add in just a little bit more feather if you wanted to, a different color. And then you wrap this for your thread head. And now you have a very simple, when it gets wet, it's going to be very, very skinny, but this could be a nice little simple leech pattern with just using this blood quill fish hunter marabou with the longer, more flowy fibers. So very, very simple. And a very, George would probably yell at me, but it's kind of similar to the popsicle, George Cook's popsicle. All right. Final marabou that we want to talk about today is this extra select marabou that's from Hairline. Lots of different colors in this marabou. This is basically, think of it like blending the two different types that we've just shown you. It has a very stiff stem, like the woolly bugger marabou. It's very densely packed fibers. There is a little bit of flexible stem up there, but the benefit of this is super long fibers. This is an average feather, maybe even on the smaller side out of the package. You're going to have 2, maybe 3+ inch fibers coming off of this marabou. So what we would do with this type of Marabou is this is where I would typically do that stacking technique. So not only are you learning about Marabou, but you're also seeing a few different techniques in this video. So if I was going to do the stacking technique, again, I would grab the feather by the tip and I would pull down, pull off a little bundle. You can see where it came off of the stem. It's got these white little curlies on there. And I'd set that down on my table here. Do it again on the other side. I give it a little spin just to kind of hold them together. Now I have a bundle that's dense, but has longer fibers on it. You can do multiple different colors, stack them in different places. Let's just show that real quick, just so you can kind of see that long flowiness. Here is some extra select, but in tan. Pull off bundle here. Get that little bundle there. Now we're going to do like a two-tone stacked tail. You just speed up this nonsense. All right, so very popular fly, especially out west, is called a woolly bugger pattern. It's called the thin mint. Usually has olive, maybe black, and then brown or a tan colored tail. It's different stacks. So this is what I would use, this longer Marabou for this. Just tie in one clump, then you can stack it on top. Get that two-tone effect. Lash all this down, make it look as pretty or whatever you want. Depends on what you're doing, right? If it's a woolly bugger, I'm just going to wrap over top of this. So any little stiff pieces that I might have, I trim that off. I'm going to wrap over that so it doesn't need to look pretty. But you can have that nice two-tone segment there of a long fiber tail. You can tie in two feathers, one on top of the other, and pull them that way. But sometimes when you do that, the fibers aren't the same length unless you really match them up a lot. So a lot of times I'll do this, and then I still have plenty of feather left that I can do this multiple times. Where if I did the slide method and trimmed it off, I'm probably going to only have one use for that feather. So doing this stack method to get the two-tone tail is a better choice to be a little better steward of what you have, or you're at least not wasting as much feathers. So awesome stuff. Lots of different choices within the Marabou world. 3 different main types. We have barred Marabou from Montana Fly. That is awesome. They are either like mini blood quill or big select plumes. We have really small stuff for doing little tiny tails on, let's say like a hex nymph, maybe even like a little chicken little tiny streamer. There's all kinds of different types that we have. Don't get overwhelmed by this, but don't just select the first Marabou you see. Give us a call. We can help you out with all this to pick out the right Marabou for your specific needs. So, as always, everything's available at Mad River Outfitters. You can see the link somewhere, or just give us a call. We can help you out. So, thanks for joining us. Hopefully, this was helpful for you to kind of understand the different types of Marabou. Make sure that if you have any questions, give us a call. We're always here to help. Thanks for joining us.